Hello, everyone, and welcome to round number 3 here at Delta Revolution Racing for the F1 Monday tier. I am Kem, and I would like to thank you for joining this broadcast or tuning into this broadcast. If you have not subscribed to this channel as yet, make sure you do that, and also make sure that you like this video / stream as well, as we're just waiting for all of the drivers to load into the lobby, as today's race will be taking place around Silverstone, and it is actually the sprint qualifying format for today. So it's going to be the short qualifying session and then a 9-lap sprint where the top 6 will be scoring points, and then finally it will be the 50% race. I believe it is a 26-lap race around this circuit. So as we wait for the drivers to load into the lobby, just open up YouTube quickly. All right, so everything is good on the YouTube side. So I'll just get the settings prepared. So just a little information coming into this race. So off of last week's round 2 that took place around Miami, there were quite a lot of incidents as Zayek has retired already. So there are actually 4 of these drivers are serving qualifying bans for today's race. That would be Pavonis of the Alfa Romeo team, King David of the Alfa Romeo team as well, Jazz of the Aston Martin team, and then finally Zayek of the Mercedes team, which he has already decided to park it without doing the outlap, which is optional for drivers who are serving qualifying bans to do. They can do one outlap and then dive right back into the pits and retire. There is the potential that Zap's AlphaTauri teammate Valache may be joining later in this session. He also has a qualifying ban for his next race that he will be taking place in. So if he does join for today's race, he will be serving a qualifying ban. If he does not and he races next week, then he will be serving his qualifying ban next week at, I believe it is Austria. So we have 14 drivers for this race today, and the first driver who will be crossing the start-finish line will be BNR Harley. He is reserving for the Red Bull team, as both BKS and Prior Thib are not racing today. It's good to see Lewis F1. This is going to be his first race of the season for the Ferrari team. He's a full-time driver for the Ferrari team, as well as SLR Ham 19. This is his first race as a full-time driver for the Ferrari team as well. He was actually just put as a full-time driver for the Ferrari team. So those are the new faces. And then also King David is one of the, he was serving as a reserve to begin the season, but now he has taken a full-time seat at the Alfa Romeo team to team up with Pavonis. So we're currently riding on board with BNR Harley. He is reserving for the Red Bull team. And we'll see how it is that he fares. Looking at the sky, there is quite a bit of cloud. That looks like, as Pavonis has retired after doing his outlap as he's serving qualifying ban, that sky looks like there may be potential for some rain. But for the time being, we'll ride on board with the NR Harley as he goes through this final turn. And we'll see what kind of time he can put on the board. It's a 128.766 for the Red Bull Reserve. Next, behind him will be actually, SLR Ham has actually gone to provisional pole. Yeah, sorry, I did miss him. So yeah, SLR Ham has gone to provisional pole with a 127.522. Next across the line is going to be Hoyt's Gamer, and he sets a 134.65 to put himself in third. Shug's Life has invalidated. Oh, and also to speak of Shug's Life, he reserved for the McLaren team last week. He is now a full-time driver alongside Anthony, who is just coming to the line, goes to second with a 128.428. Lewis behind Anthony sets a 127.914 for the Ferrari team, puts him second behind his teammate. Next is going to be Zap of the AlphaTauri team, currently leading the Drivers' Championship, and he puts himself in second with a 127.871. As Apex Finley has invalidated his lap, as well as Sev Lafleur, who is reserving for the Haas team. So currently on board with Stinos of the Alpine team, had a quite surprising early exit to last week's race as he crashed out during the first lap of the race. So he will see, or we will see, if he will be able to do better coming into this race around Silverstone. Looks like Shug's Life is on a flying lap, so we'll ride on board with him as he goes through the final turn, and it'll be a 130.929 for the McLaren driver, puts him in 7th place for the time being. So we'll see who is on a lap. That might be, nope, Apex has invalidated once again. So the next person who will be able to set a lap time will be Stinos, and it did say that he set a purple Sector 1, so we'll ride on board with the Alpine driver and see how it is that he fares. Currently in 4th place in the Drivers' Championship. He is, or has, 12 points to his name. Going through this turn, have to be careful not to wash out wide and invalidate. Does stay on the track well coming through these final 2 turns. We'll see. Ooh, and has a bit of a moment, and that is that lap time over for Stinos. As behind him is actually Quoix Gamer, setting another lap on the same set of tires. He jumped to 1 place to 5th with a 128.436. Shug's Life is into the pits. Yep, King David is the last of the individuals who is serving quali ban for this race. Now riding on board with Apex Finley of the Mercedes team, has said that he has set a purple Sector 1, and now it's said that he's invalidated his lap. As I just went to the broadcast camera, he may have cut that right-hander a bit too tight, which you should typically do as we're riding on board with Stinos, as you saw there. You should do in order to ensure you cut as much time as you can, as Stinos has run wide at tops. He has invalidated. So we currently have 9 minutes and 31 seconds left in this qualifying session. As So we'll see if anyone is on an actual lap. Looks like everybody has invalidated. So the next individual who will be on a time flying lap will be the McLaren driver of Anthony, who is currently sitting in second place in the drivers' standings. So he has done quite well so far in this 10-race season. So we'll ride on board with the McLaren driver of Anthony and see how he is able to fare on this flying lap. So it's DRS wide open for the McLaren driver of Anthony. On a break just after the 50 and turn in. Looks like it's a purple sector 1 for the McLaren driver. Has run slightly wide through this turn, but not too bad. We'll see how it is that he's able to take off. Gearing down and turning at the 50-meter board. Stays well within the track limits. Taking those turns quite well. It is DRS wide open again for the McLaren driver, just over a tenth faster than his best lap. So at the moment, it looks like if he does stay on this relatively decent pace, it does look like Anthony will be staying in fourth place for the time being. Coming through this final turn, we will see. Yep, so improves by just close to 3/10, stays in fourth, however, as Shug's Life just coming to the start-finish line, starting his flying lap. Now we're right on board with Zap, currently in second place. Coming through these final two turns. The pedal down for Zap, and I believe he jumps to, or maybe stays in second, actually. Did improve his time, but stays in second with a 1:27.587. I believe he stayed in second. It's either he jumped to second or stayed in second from third. Now on board with Seb LaFleur, goes to provisional pole with a 1:27.489. Now riding on board with SLR Ham 19, has a bit of a moment. Luckily does not invalidate his lap, so we'll see if there's going to be an improvement. Judging by that mistake, I do not. If it is! It is provisional pole for SLR Ham even after that slight error. That is quite impressive. So now riding on board with Shug's Life, will it be an improvement for the McLaren driver? Yep, jumps one position, sets at 1:36.02 to jump to 8th position. As Zap has run out of fuel. So next on the lap is Koik's Gamer. We have 5 minutes and 21 seconds left in this qualifying session. Well within track limits does Koik's Gamer. So we'll ride on board with him for the rest of this flying lap. As DRS wide open for the Williams driver. Coming through the final 3 turns of this circuit, we will see how it is or what time Koik's can put on the board. He jumps to 1 position to 5th with a 1:28.062. Behind him was Stinos and Ham, they are both into the pits. Next across the line will be Shug's Life. Coming through these final two turns, we'll see how the McLaren driver does. As it is a slight improvement, but he does stay in 8th place. So just coming out of the pits is Apex Finley. Both Shugs and Koiks, I believe, will be on in lap. So unless Harley passes Apex Finley will be the next on a flying lap. So we currently have 2 minutes and 53 seconds left in this qualifying session as Shug's Life is headed into the pits, and DNR Harley has made his way past Apex. So the next on a flying lap will be the driver we are currently on board with, being the reserve driver of BNR Harley. Currently riding on board with BNR Harley. DRS wide open for the reserve Red Bull driver. Braking just after the 50-meter board and turning in at that point as well. Stays quite tight in this turn, which is more so what you want to do as opposed to running wide. Now going through cops. Have to be careful going through Maggots and Beckett's. Mention does not invalidate. DRS wide open once again, and he is 500 slower than his best time. So we'll see if BNR Harley can make up some time through the rest of this sector. And he has actually decided to dive into the pits, and that's going to be it for qualifying for Harley. Behind him is Apex Finley, going nearly 3.5 tenths faster than his best lap. We'll see what kind of time he can put on the board. It's a 1:28.283 for the Mercedes driver. That puts him in 7th, and that may be the highest that he will be able to go, as unless he is going to be on another push lap, that will be it for qualifying for Apex Finley. Now riding on board with Lewis, going nearly 700 faster than his best time. Looks like he is going to keep himself in 4th place for the time being. It is an improvement of 2 tenths, but does stay in 4th as SLR Ham with a 1:27.141 was already in 1st, has just decided to improve upon that provisional pole time. So well done by the Ferrari driver of SLR Ham in his first race of the season in this league. Shug's Life is done. Anthony has invalidated. The best he will be able to do is 6th place. Next will be Stinos, has actually invalidated. So this looks like, unless, nope, Seb LaFleur is on a flying lap. So let us see what the Haas reserve can do. It is purple sector 2 for Seb LaFleur. So it is going to be an improvement barring any mistakes. It is just a question, and he runs wide. And it looks like it is going to be second place for Seb LaFleur, unless Koit's Gamer has anything to say about that. Is Stin Zap behind him on a lap? No, it hasn't validated. So let's see what Koit's Gamer is able to do. It is a slight improvement, stays in 5th place. So it is SLR Ham of the Ferrari team with a 127.141, putting himself in pole position. Well done by him, followed by Seb LaFleur reserving for the Haas team in 2nd, and Zap of the AlphaTauri team will be starting this 9-lap sprint in 3rd. I must say, I really do like that helmet that Ham is wearing. That is a very nice helmet. So we will go through the starting order for this 9-lap sprint. It is SLR Ham on pole position. Seb LaFleur will be starting in 2nd. Zap of the AlphaTauri team will be starting in 3rd. Lewis F1 in 4th. Koit's Gamer in 5th. Anthony will be starting in 6th. Apex Finley will be starting in 7th. BNR Harley starting in 8th, Shugs Life starting in 9th, and Stinos will be starting in 10th place. Pavonis in 11th, King David in 12th, Jazz in 13th, and Zayak in 14th. The bottom 4 drivers all serving qualifying bans for this round, but we'll see how those 4 drivers will be able to fare in this sprint race starting from the back of the grid. Just a reminder that there is no formation lap that will be taking place for both the sprint and the 26-lap race. So as the drivers make their final adjustments to their setups, they will be heading onto the grid where the 5 red lights will start, and then it will be green for the start of this race. So we're at 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And we are away for this 9-lap sprint around Silverstone. And we'll see Zap has gotten himself a good start, as well as Koit's Gamer and Apex Finley already making up 3 positions off of the start. So good starts by Zap, Koit's Gamer, and Apex Finley. Seb LaFleur has dropped 4 positions. Oh, as King David has made an error. So that's unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver, as well as it looks like there is absolute carnage at the moment, as Apex Finley has gotten himself a 5-second penalty for a collision with Shugs Life, and we are now under safety car conditions. Stinos and Koit's Gamer are out of this session. So quite a bit of carnage to start this race, and we are already under safety car conditions, and it is only lap 1. So into the pits is Seb LaFleur, Lewis F1, Shug's Life, Apex Finley, Jazz, and King David. As we will see what tires some of these runners are on. So it's most likely going to be softs for all of these pitters. Yep, so everyone who is into the pits have come out on the soft compound tire, as like there are some switches that are happening in positions, not exactly sure. So the current running order as it stands, it is SLR Ham started in first place, currently in first. Zap started in third, has made up one position, is now currently in second. We have DNR Harley reserving for the Red Bull team, started in eighth, currently in third. Anthony has made up 2 positions from the start of the race, now in fourth. Zayek, who had a qualifying ban, has made up, actually started right at the back in 14th, currently in 5th place. Pavonis also had a qualifying ban, started in 11th, currently in 6th. Seb LaFleur has dropped 5 positions from the start, he is in 7th. Lewis F1 has dropped 4 positions from the start, currently in 8th. King David has made up 3 positions as he has a qualifying ban. Did have a spin just before the DRS detection zone, but has made up 3 positions, currently in 9th. Shug's Life in 10th has dropped 1 position. Jazz has made up 2 positions, currently in 11th. And Apex Finley, who was a part of that absolute mayhem to start this race, currently in 12th place. So as the drivers are currently making their way through Sector 2 behind the safety car, will be interesting to see if the safety car will be in this lap. I am assuming that it will be, as the safety car is running wide, which is quite interesting to see. But what is also going to be interesting is the fact that all of these individuals who have pitted under these safety car conditions, as the safety car is in this lap as determined by race control, all of these pitters from 7th to 12th who are currently on the soft compound of tire, will they be able to get very good starts off of this safety car restart and make up positions? It is going to be interesting to see. But as SLR Ham, as it looks like he has decided to get back underway, it is going to be lap 4, so there will be 6 laps remaining in this race. SLR Ham has gotten a relatively decent jump on Zap behind him. We'll go on board with Pavonis, has made quite a lunge on Zayek. Luckily didn't make any contact with the Mercedes driver. As it looks like Apex Finley has made his way past Jazz to go up into 11th. Now riding on board with Lewis. Currently side by side with Seb LaFleur and making contact. Seb LaFleur has spun. So that is unfortunate for the reserve driver of Seb LaFleur. I'm currently still on board with Lewis F1 following right behind the Mercedes driver of Zayek, currently in 6th place. And he is now right behind Pavonis. And we'll see if Zayek gets himself a good run. As now it looks like Lewis is actually getting himself, I'm not exactly sure what it is that happened with Pavonis there. It looked like he just morphed. Oh, as a really bad lunge by one of the Alfa Romeos. I believe that was King David. So picking up the pieces is Apex Finley has made his way up to 9. Shug's Life gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings, making a lunge on the Mercedes driver of Zayek. They are currently side by side. Zayek able to keep that 7th place position. Who is going to have DRS? Is there DRS? Nope, there is no DRS as yet. So it is side by side between the Mercedes driver and the McLaren driver of Zayek and Shug's Life. As looks like Seb LaFleur has made his way past Jazz to go up into 10th. So there's a lot of action as there is a fight for this 7th place position. Zayek making his way down the inside of Shug's Life and making contact with the McLaren driver. He has spun. So that is unfortunate for Zayek. Now riding on board, we'll actually go on board with Jazz. No, actually we'll go on board with Apex Finley, or sorry, Shugs, as Apex Finley is making his way past, and Apex is around! As it looks like there was some contact made between Apex and Shug's Life. As Pavonis is into the pits, Lewis had DNF. And it looks like someone has made contact. Shug's Life is now out of this session, and we have another safety car. So this being only a 9-lap sprint, 2 safety cars taking place is quite the number for a 9-lap sprint qualifier, as both Pavonis and Zayek making their way out of the pits. And as there was contact that was seen by an Alfa Romeo driver, it may have actually, I did say that it may have been King David, it may have actually been Pavonis. So Zayek making his way past the safety car, so it looks like Zayek is gonna, all of the runners who are at the back, they are gonna have to be relatively fast catching up to the rest of the field who will be trailing the safety car, as there will most likely only be potentially 1 lap under the safety car. We will see. So we're currently on lap 7 of 9. Only 10 runners remaining in this race as Jazz gets himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So both Seb LaFleur and Jazz have decided to pit. And it'll most likely be a new set of soft tires for both runners. Yep, so new softs for both Seb and Jazz. As Zayak is heading into the pits, he has to hope that the safety car will not be coming in this lap. Yep, so the safety car is coming in this lap. Zayak is going to be quite far behind. It's going to be interesting to see if Pavanis will be able to catch up to the pack. He should be able to. Yep, so it looks like Ham is away. We are going to have 2 laps of racing after this safety car period. Looks like Ham has gotten himself another good jump off of this safety car restart. Now riding on board with King David, does run wide through that first turn. Might have been a track limit warning there, as looks like Seb LaFleur and Pavanis are currently battling at the moment as there is contact made between Pavanis and Seb LaFleur. So currently riding on board with King David. Actually, we'll go on board with Pavanis. Currently in 7th place, only 1 place out of the points for this sprint race. As he has made contact with Apex Finley, Pavanis needs to be very careful to not make contact with any drivers. Now riding on board with Seb LaFleur, who will go back on board with Pavanis. Looks like he's going to make a move going into that turn, but decides to back out. As Zap sets the fastest lap with a 1:29.082. There are no points for fastest lap in this 9-lap sprint, however. As Seb LaFleur gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. As Seb LaFleur has made an error. That is a spin for the Haas reserve of Seb LaFleur. Now riding on board with Jazz. We will go on board with King David, see if he'll be able to make up any positions on or for the remainder of this race. Actually, Anthony may be able to get a good run on Harley in front of him. She will go down to Jazz. We will see if he will be able to make a move on Pavonis. Contact made between both drivers, but it is going to be SLR Ham with the win of this sprint. Zap coming home in second, Harley in third, Anthony in fourth, in fifth is King David, sixth is Apex Finley, seventh Pavonis, and I believe it was followed by Jazz. I'm not exactly sure who came in ninth place. May have been Sev LaFleur. So this is the final finishing positions for this sprint quali. It is Ham finishing in first, Zap in second, Harley in third, Anthony in fourth, King David in fifth, Apex Finley in sixth, Pavonis in seventh, Jazz in eighth, Sev LaFleur in ninth, Zayak in 10th, Shug's Life in 11th, Lewis in 12th, Sinos in 13th, and Quakes Gamer in 14th place. So it does look like we are going to be having a lobby restart. Yep, so it's going to be a lobby restart. So for those who are tuning in, we will just be going to a quick break as we are going to have to reform this lobby, and then we'll get back to the 50% sprint for or around Silverstone. We will be back shortly. Hello everyone and welcome back to our coverage of F1 Monday, of the F1 Monday tier here at Delta Revolution Racing. We just had to do a quick lobby restart as we will now be going into this 26 lap race around Silverstone. So taking the win in the sprint qualifier was SLR Ham, and behind him was Zap, followed by BNR Harley, who is reserving for the Red Bull team. But we will now see what is going to take place in this 50% race. Yep, so we're just waiting for all of these drivers to put on their setups. As once again, there will be no formation lap, so they will be getting right onto the circuit, and then it will be the five red lights, and then this race will be a go. So it's 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And Apex Finley gets himself a drive-through penalty for a jump start. As we have more carnage to begin this race, it looks like Anthony and Apex are both around going into turn 1. Zayak has made up 5 positions from the start of this race. Seb LaFleur, looks like there may have been some type of issue that took place. Seb LaFleur has dropped off of the back of King David. Now riding on board with Jazz, who is currently going side by side with Zap. Lewis having to get himself out of the way as he almost made his way into the back of Zap. Now we have a good vantage point looking at this battle between Zap and Jazz. It looks like Zap runs slightly wide and is going to take that 5th place position from Jazz. Lewis has to be careful. He makes a bit of contact with Jazz. Now making his way beside Jazz and past Jazz to go up into 6th place. Well done by the Ferrari driver, as Zayak has made contact with Jazz and he is around. As SLR Ham sets the fastest lap with a 1:34.011. The battle going on between Zap and Lewis. Spinos and Apex are into the pits. We have yellow flags in sector 3. Looks like Zayak may have had another spin. So the only soft runner being the driver we are currently on board with right now, Lewis, F1 of the Ferrari team. He is the only soft runner, so he is going to try and make up as many positions as possible from the beginning of this race. As everyone else has decided to go onto the mediums, although Apex Finley is on the hards, but he has just pitted along with Sino. Seb LaFleur started the race on the hard compound tire, currently in 4th place. So doing well so far is the reserve driver of Seb Leclerc. So currently on board with Koi's Gamer as Ham sets another fastest lap with a 131, and then it's taken off of him by Zap. He sets a 131.054. DRS is now enabled. We'll actually go up to King David. So it's DRS wide open for the Alfa Romeo driver of King David. Not able to make his way close enough to Harley, although he is quite close to the rear of the Red Bull Reserve. Will have to stay slotted in third for the time being. But as it stands right now, this is the closest battle on track, and heading through these turns as it's going to be DRS again for King David. We will see as already Harley's rear red light is flashing, so he is already low on the battery. As Koitz and Jazz are currently in a battle for that 7th place position. Koitz late on the brakes as Ham sets another fastest lap of the race. As we'll see if Jazz does leave the room for Koitz, and Koitz is able to take or stay in that 7th place position. We have yellow flags in sector 3. That may be, I think it is Apex. So not a good start to the race for the Mercedes driver. Now riding on board with King David, he is side by side and past DNR Harley to go up into 2nd place. Well done by the new full-time driver for the Alfa Romeo team of King David. And now in 4th place is Seb Leclerc as Harley is still quite low on the battery, runs wide through Koss. Anthony looks like Shug's life has had a bit of a moment, so Anthony up into 9th place. Now on board with Seb Leclerc as he is making his way past Harley as well as Zap on the inside, so 2 positions lost by Harley, as looks like there's a battle between, again, Koitz and Jazz, as Koitz may have made a little bit of a mistake. Now back up to Seb Leclerc. There are quite some battles going on for the 7th place position as well as the 3rd place position at the moment. So now riding on board with Stinos, making his way beside and past Apex Simley to go up into 12th place. So we're currently on lap 5 of 26. We'll see how many positions have been made up by some of these drivers. Actually, we'll go on board with Seb Leclerc right on the back of Zap in that AlphaTauri car. And Lewis and DNR Harley are actually going side by side. There are many battles going on at the moment. So we'll go on board with Zap. We'll have DRS making his way past King David. Seb Leclerc making his way past King David as well. Lewis has made his way past Harley to go up into 5th place. As we have yellow flags in sector 3, looks like Lewis has made a mistake. And it looks like Harley also caught the worst of that, as he has gone into, I believe, has gone into Lewis. So that is unfortunate for both drivers. Lewis is missing his entire front wing. As we have yellow flags in Sector 3, looks like that may be Shug's life. Yep, as Zayek makes his way past into 10th place. Now riding on board with BNR Harley, I just want to see if he has any damage. No, his car does look like it is fine at the moment. It did look like he went into Lewis after Lewis made that mistake, but it looks like his car is doing fine for the moment. Riding on board with Coit, making his way past Jazz, going into Cobbs, but a switchback by Jazz to take back that 5th place position. That was a nifty move by the Aston Martin driver. Harley gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Now riding on board with Coit Gamer, it is DRS for the Williams driver, but not enough straight to be able to make a pass on Jazz. Now riding on board with Harley, Astinos gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Lewis still doesn't have a front wing, so he was running very wide through that turn, and that gives Harley that 7th place position, as Lewis also gets himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So things going from bad to worse for the Ferrari driver. So it's DRS wide open for the Williams driver, Coit Gamer. Will he have enough straight? No, he will not. But this seems like it's going to be a consistent battle between Jazz and Coit for this 5th place position at the current moment. But I'll give a quick rundown of the current position. So it is SLR Ham who has a healthy lead out in 1st place, 7.5 seconds nearly clear of Zap, who is in 2nd place at the moment. In 3rd is Seb LaFleur, has made up 5 positions from the start of this race. Well done by him. In 4th is King David, as we have yellow flags in Sector 2. That is Stinos. So in 4th place is King David. 5th is Jazz. Coit Gamer currently in 6th. We have Harley reserving for the Red Bull team in 7th. In 8th is the McLaren driver of Anthony. 9th is Zayat of the Mercedes team. In 10th is Shug's Life of the McLaren team. Apex currently in 11th place. We have Lewis F1, who was doing well, as we have yellow flags. Again, looks like Stinos is having more issues. We'll go on board with Coit Gamer, as it looks like a Mercedes driver has made an error. Yup, and that is Zayek. So Coit Gamer has made his way past Jazz. Zayek has made a mistake, now dropping down to 12th place. Now riding on board with Jazz, he is going to retake that 5th place position as he would make his way past Coits to go up into 5th. So this is interesting. Stinos is actually coming quite close to being lapped by Jazz. So Stinos has actually been lapped by Ham, Zap, Seb LaFleur and King David as it is. So Spinos, who's currently in 4th place in the Drivers' Championship, is not faring well at the moment, as he has been lapped by both Jazz and Koix Gamer. As Zayak is into the pits, probably time to ditch those mediums and put on a set of hards, and it's also going to be a new front wing for the Mercedes driver. Closest battle on the track right now, still this battle between Jazz and Koix Gamer. It is DRS for Koix Gamer, and Spinos is actually right behind as Ham sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:38.89. He is currently flying at the moment. Now Zap takes that fastest lap off of him with a 1:37.98. So as it is right now, the field is decently spread out. This battle for 5th is the closest battle at the moment, as we have yellow flags in Sector 1. I believe that is just Spinos. Maybe there is a Mercedes that is going slow. It is Zayak, as he has made an error. Jazz has also made an error. So that battle between Koix and Jazz is no more, as Jazz has made a costly error. Will be in 6th. For the time being, but it'll be interesting to see if Harley will be able to make his way up to the back of Jazz. We'll actually go on board with Seb LaFleur. So as he started this race on the hard tires, he is going to be faring better at this point in comparison to the medium runners, that being one of them being Zach of the AlphaTauri team ahead of him, as we have yellow flags in Sector 2 and 3, and it looks like Zayak has crashed out, and we have a safety car. So unfortunate for the Mercedes driver of Zayak, has crashed out of this race. So this might be a potential opportunity for Spinos, as Shugslife gets himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Some of these runners who had made mistakes throughout this race, they are going to be able to get a second opportunity at having a good outcome from this race. But it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen for some of these runners. Who is going to pit? Riding on board with Ham, I'm assuming that he will be pitting. Yes, the Ferrari driver is into the pits. Zap, I believe, will be into the pits as well. It's going to be interesting though. Is Seb LaFleur? Yes, Seb LaFleur is actually going to pit. So may try and take the mediums until the end of the race. Maybe a slight bit of an ask, but should be relatively doable. King David is into the pits, as well as Koix Gamer behind him. We have Jazz, who made that error on, I believe it was this lap. He is into the pits. DNR Harley behind him into the pits as well. Anthony of the McLaren team into the pits. Now this will be interesting to see as Shug's Life gets himself a 3-second time penalty, and that may actually be costly for Stinos. Stinos maybe should not have pitted, because if he did not pit, he may have been able to clear the safety car and get himself unlapped. So it may be an error by the Alpine driver, but Lewis F1 is into the pits. So I'm assuming it's going to be medium tires for him. My assumption will be that Shug's Life will stay out. Apex Finley behind him. Will has decided not to pit, as I guess he has just pit on this lap. So now it's going to be interesting. We're riding on board with Stinos. It's going to be interesting to see if the Alpine driver is going to decide to pit. Or sorry, not to pit. If he's going to try and clear all of these drivers who are ahead of him to try and unlap himself. Does not look like he's going to be doing it at the moment. So we're currently on lap 12 of 26, currently under safety car conditions. It did look like Stinos was trying to make an attempt to unlap himself, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to at the moment. So I'll go through the current places of the race. It is Ham, who started in first, still in first place. We have Zap of the AlphaTauri team, started in second, currently in second. Seb LaFleur, who started in eighth, jumped 5 positions up into third. King David of the Alfa Romeo team at Stinos has tried to unlap himself and has gotten himself disqualified. So King David of the Alfa Romeo team in fourth has made up 1 position from the start of this race. We have Koik Skamer has made up 8 positions from the start of this race, currently in 5th. DNR Harley has dropped 3 positions from the start of this race, currently in 6th. Jazz, who started in 7th, currently in 7th. Anthony, who started in 4th, is currently in 8th. Shug's Life has made up 1 position, currently in 9th. Apex Finley, who started in 6th, currently in 10th. And Lewis F1, who started in 11th, currently in 11th place. Currently on lap 14 of 26. Assumption is that the safety car will be coming in this lap. So we'll actually have a look at the penalties so far in this race. So BNR Harley has himself a 3-second time penalty, and Shug's Life has himself an 8-second time penalty. So if there is another safety car period, or if for any reason Shug's Life does have to pit again, he should be able to serve that 5-second time penalty in the pits. So the safety car is coming in this lap, and we'll ride on board with Ham to see what kind of jump he can get off of this safety car restart. And this is going to be the third safety car that we're going to be seeing today, as there were 2 in the sprint qualifier, and now this first safety car for this 50% race. Every single time Ham has gotten himself a very good jump. So I'm actually riding on board with Zap to see if he can stay closely to Ham. And it does look like Ham is away, and once again a pretty good jump by the Ferrari driver. But we'll go down to Apex, as he had made up a position, and it looks like Harley as well ahead has made up one position as well. So well done by both of those drivers, as Lewis and Koik's Gamer are side by side at the moment. Shug's Life making a little bit of an error, so he's going to fall back ever so slightly. So now riding on board with King David. He has net P4 currently in this race, as BNR Harley ahead of him has a 3-second time penalty to his name. There's a bit of contact made between King David and BNR Harley, but BNR Harley, what a move to get that 4th place position back. As Ham sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.527, Lewis F1 almost with an oversteer moment there, able to catch the car from spinning. That was a brilliant move by Harley to get that 4th place position back off of King David. So now riding on board with King David. Harley did go slightly defensive, but went back to the normal racing line. Does have the inside line through this turn, and is able to keep that 4th place position, as Lewis once again has a bit of a moment, and that may cost him a position. This side by side between Koik's and Lewis, contact made between both drivers that sends Koik out wide, as it looks like a bit of ghosting going on between King David and Harley. Luckily nothing came of that. So Seb LaFleur sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:32.47. 6. DRS is now enabled on this lap, so that is going to help. As riding on board with Harley at the moment, we see him get a 3-second time penalty, as it looks like Suge's life has had a little bit of a moment. We were riding on board with Harley, saw him cut that corner, which gave him another 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. So it is DRS for the Red Bull driver. And a lot of speed going down this straight. Has to be careful not to go into the back of King David, and does well to yield and stay in 5th place. As Jazz gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings as we were riding on board with him, so we were able to see him cut that turn. This DRS for both Harley and Jazz, but Harley at the moment is currently low on the battery. Takes good avoiding action as he was trying to make that move on King David, but looks like it's going to be a run around the outside for Harley, as maybe it was a bit of an illegal overtake, had to give the position back to King David. This is quite a good drive by the reserve of Harley, but now on board, as has to be careful, made a bit of a cut on Jazz. Almost caused him to spin. Now on board, and it looks like all of these drivers are starting to get quite close together. Apex has made his way up into 6th place. Now riding on board with Lewis. Relatively close to the back of Jazz. And then just behind him is Anthony, relatively close as well. So a bit of bunching up between this midfield. This is going to get quite interesting. His DRS for Lewis made his way past. Jazz is just falling down as he does not have DRS to aid him. Oh, Apex Finley with the mistake, and Anthony is out. And it is another, is this a VSC or a safety car? Maybe just a virtual safety car for the time being. That is unfortunate for Anthony. So it's a new front wing for Jazz. And a new front wing for Apex Finley. We are currently on lap 19 of 26. We have 7.5 laps remaining in this race, currently under VSC conditions. In first is Ham. Does not seem to want to give up that first place position. Has maintained it throughout this entire session, as it looks like the VSC is now over. DRS has been enabled. It's DRS for Zap as Lewis gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. It's DRS for Zap and Sev LaFleur, and this may put Ham at a slight bit of a risk with both of these drivers having DRS behind him. So now riding on board with Zap will have DRS, but will be too far from Ham in front of him to be able to make a move. Seb LaFleur also too far back from Zap. Will have to stay in third place. DRS for BNR Harley. King David will not have the DRS ahead of him, and both of these drivers on the hard tires, so it's equal as far as the tire compounds are concerned. However, with this DRS, it's going to be interesting to see if Harley will be able to make his way up to King David. As I'm now riding on board with Seb LaFleur, he seems to be getting slightly closer to Zap. As unfortunately, Harley has gotten himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. With Seb LaFleur, as we have yellow flags in sector 2 and 3, that is Coix. So with Seb LaFleur being on the medium tires, as Ham sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:29.864. With Seb LaFleur being on the medium compound tires, he is going to be faster for the time being, although there will be a bit of an equaling out period coming soon between the medium and hard runners. So as DRS is wide open for Seb LaFleur, he needs to try his hardest to make his way past Zap ahead of him. As Jazz sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:29.661. So even after that mistake by Coix, he has not dropped any position, still currently in 7th place. So DRS for both Zap and Seb LaFleur. Seems like even without the DRS, Ham is doing quite well in first and still has quite a bit of battery, probably around 20% more than Zap. And then Seb LaFleur looks like he has about 30% less than Zap ahead of him. As we have yellow flags in sector 1, Shug's life is out. Shug's life has crashed out, and we have another, this would be another VSC. So it's not a full safety car, it is a virtual safety car, as Coix has gotten himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that's also going to be interesting to see if Shugs will be classified. We will be able to see at the end of this race. This is quite beneficial for Coix, being able to make a pit stop under a VSC, although he has been passed by Jazz. So some penalties for speeding under the VSC. Harley being one of them, as well as Apex. So that is unfortunate for both Harley and Apex, getting themselves drive-through penalties for the restart of that virtual safety car. Currently riding on board with Seb LaFleur, and he's getting quite close to Zap. Zap now has to be careful because he has to. It looks like Ham may have made a little bit of an error, so that has allowed Zap to stay comfortably within the DRS of Ham ahead of him. However, Zap does need to be very careful to stay within DRS of, or stay within 1 second of Ham ahead of him, because if he does not, Seb LaFleur is going to have a very good opportunity at taking that second place off of Zach. Harley gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. So as Ham is about to cross the start-finish line, we will be commencing lap 24 of 26, so 3 laps remaining in this race. And Ham still able to keep this lead in first. Now on board with Lewis, Ham's teammate, as is side by side between Lewis and Harley. Lewis does lift and yield for Harley. Didn't want to make any contact with the Red Bull driver, but what a move! As it looks like Harley may have made a bit of a mistake. And Lewis is now up into 5th place. Well done by him. As Apex gets himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And he will be serving his drive-through penalty as it is. Yep, so it's a drive-through penalty for Apex Finley. And Harley is actually going to have to serve his drive-through penalty relatively soon, and that should probably drop him 1 position to 7th place. We'll actually ride on board with Harley. Is he going to decide to pit? Yes, he does. Decide to pit, so he's going to probably come out in 7th place as Apex gets himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Now, what is interesting? With Harley, oh no, Harley actually has 12? Wow, 12 seconds worth of penalties. So, Coates is actually going to be in a bit of a battle with Harley to try and get that 7th place position. So, Jazz has made his way past Harley to go up. Actually, is there nope, there's a battle. So Harley has come out just, must have been beside Jazz. Now behind Jazz, but he has DRS. And quite the lunge by Harley. That was not a good move, as Harley has also pulled over to the side of the road. And Harley has retired from the session. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that happened with the Red Bull Reserve of Harley, but we are currently on the final lap of this race. Ham with the lead in first, Zap behind him in second, Seb LaFleur currently in third, and it does look like, barring any errors, Ham is going to take the win in this race. But we still have about half a lap remaining, so we will see what it is that Zap can do in behind the Ferrari driver of Ham. As Seb LaFleur dropping back and gets himself a 3-second time penalty. That's not going to do anything to his current position. With DRS wide open for The AlphaTauri driver of Zap will not have enough straight to be able to get up to the back of Ham. And it is first race of the season for Ham, and he gets himself a victory here around Silverstone and gets the fastest lap as well. What a performance by Ham. Zap comes home in second. Seb Leclerc reserving for the Haas team. Coming home in third, King David will be coming home in fourth place. Lewis F1, first race of the season, finishing in fifth. Well done by him. Jazz will be coming home in sixth place. He just makes his way through the final few turns of this circuit. So the sixth place for Jazz. Well done by him. Koix Gamer finishing in seventh. And finally, it will be Apex Finley finishing this race in eighth place position. So Harley should be classified in ninth place. It's just a question of whether Shug's Life will be classified and if he will be able to get 1 point for his McLaren team. But there you have it. It is Ham of the Ferrari team finishing in first place. A dominant performance by him throughout qualifying, the sprint qualifying, and the race, as Lewis F1 is given the driver of the day by the game. So I'll go through the final finishing order for this race. It is Ham finishing in first, also getting the fastest lap. Well done by him. Zap finishes in second place. Well done by him as well. Seb Leclerc finishing in third. Moved up 5 positions from the start of this race. Well done by him as well. King David finishing in fourth. Lewis making up 6 positions from the start of this race, finishes in fifth. Well done by him. Jazz finishing in sixth. Koix Gamer making up 6 places from the beginning of this race. Well done by him to finish in seventh. Apex Finley finishing in eighth. Harley does get classified, so he does finish in ninth place. Shug's Life unfortunately did not get classified, so DNFing and finishing in 10th does not get a point for finishing in 10th. And rounding out the field, it is Anthony finishing in 11th, Zach in 12th, Stinos finishing in 13th place. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning into this broadcast of Delta Revolution Racing. Make sure that you tune in next week as I go to the calendar, the race will be taking place around Austria. So make sure that you tune in for that as well. And there will be some new faces that will be on the grid, as there are some new full-timers who were declared for this week, weren't able to race today. However, they will be racing next week, and they are quick drivers, some of these individuals who will be racing next week that have not been seen as yet. So make sure you tune in next week, and it'll be interesting to see what some of those drivers who have not raced so far in this season, how they are able to fare. If you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do that, and also like this stream/video. For myself, Cam, I would like to thank you for tuning into this race, and I will say to everyone, take care.